that you're using. So for print, for PDF, for digital, like phones, like tablets, and also for the web, HTML, or even Flash. And of course, what we want to give you is an ability to do that as quick and as easy as possible, so that you don't have to recreate or redo all of the work that you've already done for one media, so that you can really reuse everything that you have for one media into another media, and of course enrich it if the media needs maybe some interactivity or whatever. So we're neutral in the platform wars, and what we want to do is, I just want to show you some highlights of QuarkXPress 9.2, the current version. And for that, I'm going to switch to some software. So I'm not going to see what I present. I'm not going to see your questions, but feel free to type them in, and I'm going to answer them at the end of the session. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you, and in the brief time, I don't have time to show you all of the features of QuarkXPress. I'm assuming that you are familiar with page layout software. So I'm going to show you some highlights here that we have for, in this case, print. It's going to be our first media that I'm going to do. Remember, everything you see here, when I show you in the second part, you can of course also use for tablet. So anything you design here, you can also reuse for using publishing for the iPad or doing other media like HTML and whatever. So what I have here is I have a text box that is not formatted yet. And what I want to do is I want to format this using some style sheets. Well, if I just use style sheets and I have all these different products here, what I need to do is I need to do a lot of clicks, because there is 4 style sheets per product, and I have 3 products, so I need 12 style sheets. So what QuarkXPress allows you to do is goes a bit further than just allowing to do style sheets. You have a window that is called Conditional Styles, and these conditional styles are really powerful because they can look into the content that you're formatting. And I'm setting up some, I have set up some rules beforehand saying, well, format the product name in a certain way, then when you see the revenue, format that in a different way. If you see the body text, use a third one. And I'll just click on this, and you can see that everything is now formatted automatically. It saves you a lot of time, no matter what media you're designing here. And of course, this works live. So if I have another product that I'm going to type here, you can see that down here at the bottom, QuarkXPress is automatically being formatted. And as soon as I hit a tab, and I'll do some numbers in here, you can see that a different style sheet is automatically applied. Of course, that's all something that you can set up so that you can put your design rules into this layout and automate this. Another thing, maybe just to show you what we can do to help you create this media as quick as possible, is something that we call callouts. I'm just going to zoom to another page here. I have some text here, and what I want to do is I want to have some graphs at the side. And of course, these graphs should flow with the text, so they're not part of my text box here. So when I enter some text, you can see that this text is actually flowing, moving with the text, so it's anchored here. And as soon as my text goes to the other page, you can see that it also jumps to the other side of the page, and of course staying on the inside of my brochure here. Okay, and maybe as the last thing I'm going to show you in this document, I'm going to get in some pictures. Again, I could also do that for other media, of course. I have a wizard here, image grid, that allows me to specify some things that I want to see. Maybe I want to have 2x3 columns, or want to format my picture boxes that I'm going to create in a certain size. I want a drop shadow. I want a certain box shape with rounded corners, maybe with a drop shadow and stuff like that. Just going to pick a folder here, this one with 12 pictures, and now you can see that QuarkXPress imported these things automatically and put them on the page the way I wanted them. Of course, if I'm a designer and I want to tweak them, what I can do is I can still move these boxes around and give them maybe a different border or whatever if I decide that this quick import wasn't good enough for me. Again, saving a lot of time when you design any kind of medium. And one more thing that we added in QuarkXPress 9 is Shape Maker. So if you ever want to do really nice shapes in your layout program, or maybe something like a regular polygon here, do something like this, you can see how easily you can create Bezier shapes, even stars that you can later modify using Bezier tools to customize your design and make it really compelling with stunning effects for your readers. Again, also for iPad, but of course also for print and for PDF. Okay, so much some highlights of the design features, or the design-driven automation features, how we call that help you create design quicker. Now let's come to the digital publishing features that we added in QuarkXPress 9. So when you publish with QuarkXPress, you can publish to print, PDF, web, ebooks, smartphones, iPad, and other mobile devices using a single tool. That means that depending on for what audience or for what media you're designing, you first need to design, well, how do I get my content in there? You can design your content in one media, and then you can either convert it or use the same media to actually export to different outputs. One example is if you publish electronic books, ebooks, you say, okay, I want to publish something using the EPUB format. The EPUB format is probably the only standard for digital output, so not a proprietary standard. Proprietary format is something that Apple supports using iBooks, or with Amazon's Kindle. There's a free converter or several free converters to actually go from EPUB to Kindle format. Or if you use Nuke or any other of the e-readers, they typically support EPUB. And using QuarkXPress, what you can do is you can either create your EPUB from scratch, saying, well, I'm just going to write an ebook using QuarkXPress, or you can also take existing print content that you have in there, tag that, and then export that to EPUB, and then give it some semantic meaning so that e-readers can pick it up, enrich it with elements that are interactive, so video and audio and stuff like that. So EPUB is one possibility to do out of QuarkXPress. The next thing that I want to focus on, I'm going to show you some more examples on, is App Studio. So with App Studio, what you can do is you can publish content, design, layout to the iPad. You can create custom apps so that they're really branded with your logo, with your client's logo, and then dynamically load this content into the apps. There's different ways of enriching these elements, so you can add interactivity, videos, sound, slideshows, buttons, and other things. And I'm going to show you some so that you understand what the possibilities are using QuarkXPress. So let's go for our software. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you some example apps. And the way to do this with this web conference is there is an iOS simulator that Apple provides, and that's what you're seeing here. So it's simulating an iPad. And in this iPad, on this iPad, I have a free previewing application app installed that that comes from Quark, and it shows you content coming out of QuarkXPress. So if we look at something, let's maybe have a look at this one. We also go to our website and look at our showcase. We have listed some of them there, and they're available in the App Store. So my Italian isn't so good, and I assume maybe yours isn't either. That doesn't matter so much. I just picked this one because I really like this app using interactivity. So swipe over here. All right, so they added sound. There's a video playing here. I hope you can see that well with the conferencing software. Here they have a picture or page where they want to explain something about this village. And when you tab on these plus signs, you can see that there's actually different pictures showing with different captions explaining what this is doing. So what I can also do is I can turn my iPad. Problem about this iOS simulator is that it just has 2 resolutions, so bear with me that you don't see it in the portrait mode all the way. So when I turn this, you can see they have actually 2 different layouts depending on the orientation of the iPad. And that can make it very interesting for your readers because you can give them different content, different views on your media, on your publication. Right? So that's one example that I wanted to show you. Another example I want to show you is Retro magazine. It's from England. And what you can see is there's a video playing, it's morphing, and there's some ads, of course, in there. And what we have in here is I have a publication overview so you can see how this magazine is created. You can see screenshots of all of the different pages here, and you can browse through that. You can go to a table of content, this one maybe here, and then you can tab on the headline and you're moving there. There's some animations coming in there, so you can put animation from other programs into your iPad app. You can tab on the little circle there again and go back to your table of content. So that's another way of creating an app. I have another app here, this Visio app, coming from Germany. It's a corporate magazine. And what they are doing is, it's a medical company. They want to show some information about their products here. So what they have here, you can see that most of them actually explain how you can use the app. So what kind of interactivity is in there. What they use is something called page stacks. So if you look at this, maybe even bigger, then some articles or some elements have just one page, and other articles, they actually have a starting page, and then they have elements that belong to that article kind of underneath each other. And what they did in here is they put in a 3D or 360 product shot of a product, exported that, and put that into the app using QuarkXPress so that you can actually turn this into activity while you're reading this as a reader. Right, so another one, which is just one page, it's not an app, just to show you what we can do. Hope that views well. You can see that this video is actually playing. This video is actually playing inside a Bezier shape, and it's playing a sound. So you don't have to play videos using a square shape. You can actually animate videos and you just see them within this clipping that looks like a font or like a logo in this case. And so maybe the next one I'm going to show you is this one. This one is actually, it wasn't created intentionally for the iPad. It's actually a print layout that was enriched using QuarkXPress to get in interactivity, like a video here for the first page. And if I swipe to the next page, you can see that actually fonts are rendered. And if I double tab or double click this, you can see when I zoom in, the fonts actually stay crisp. There's the vectors. I can go out here. I can actually tab on an article, and I get a guided reading mode that actually guides me through my article so that I don't need to swipe and pinch all the time when I want to read something. Into this original print layout, what I also put in here is a self-moving slideshow. So you can see that down here. They just show 3 different Airbus models. If I tab on the second picture, you can see that this is opening a pop-up menu or pop-up window, and this pop-up has some live content from the web. So this is actually the current Airbus page, home page that you can see, and I can navigate through that. So that's another way of adding some interactivity in here, or put this manual slideshow in here. We actually need to tap on one of the little thumbnails to actually see the next picture. It's not moving automatically. And these elements in this Airbus magazine are the ones that I want to show you how you can create that with QuarkXPress. So we have different use cases here. The first one you're going to see is, how do I enrich an existing print layout in QuarkXPress and make that an iPad content? And the next step I'm going to show you afterwards is, how do you start fresh? So how do you make elements or design and interactivity tailored to the iPad using a native iPad layout? So this is a print layout, and I just saw a question popping up whether you can import InDesign documents. That's not a feature from QuarkXPress out of the box. There's converters though from Maxware where you can take InDesign documents and also open them in QuarkXPress. So what I have here is, I have a print layout, and in there I have a picture box here, I have some text boxes, logos and stuff like that. What I want to do is the same what I've just seen on the iPad simulator, is I want to make this picture box here interactive. So I want to add a video in here. So I'll go to Window, and I'm going to bring up a new palette called App Studio. And this App Studio palette allows me to add enrichment. So you can see these 8 enrichments here that we have. And under these enrichments, there is more options hiding. So let's first pick movie. So what I want to do is, I want to create a movie. I'll call that page 1 video. And I can either specify a URL for a video. Then, of course, my reader on the iPad needs to be online when they look at the video. Or I have to specify a file, and then this is going to be embedded. So I'm going to take this movie here, and I have some options that I can specify. Let's say this video will only play in full screen, or it should close at the end so I can see the picture underneath. Once it's closed, should it loop? Should it autoplay? So when I first enter the page, that everything is saying here. Do I want to see the controller to manually stop something or pause something, stuff like that? Do I want to add an alternative image? So in case I use a URL and my iPad is offline, then I can actually put the image in here, maybe saying, well, if you want to see this video, please go online. And that's all I need to do. And I already finished to create that effect that we've just seen in the iPad simulator. So let's go to the next page, and let's create the slideshow that we've just seen. So for the slideshow, I use this picture box down here, and I'm going to go to my palette. I'm going to pick slideshow. I want to have a simple slideshow. Let's say next. And my slideshow will consist out of image files. So I'll create the slideshow. I can give it a name or whatever. Let's skip that for now. And what I will do is, I will pick 3 pictures and load in here. I can see my pictures here in my palette. And what I can do now is, for each of the pictures, I can actually specify a clipping. So using the clipping, I could maybe just show the Air France logo of that plane. I can enable full screen. So when somebody double taps the picture within that slideshow, what they're going to see is, they're going to see a full screen image of that Airbus, and they're going to see the full picture. So it's a very nice way of, maybe in the layout, just showing some detail, and then encouraging your reader to double tap that to see the full picture. I can do this clipping for each of these pictures individually. So in each picture, I can do a different clipping. Remember, this slideshow was self-running, so what I can do is I can enable an animation, either with swipe. I can specify how it should be animated. I can also create this can burn effect so that it's slowly moving and zooming in or out to actually make the slideshow look a bit more interactive. So last thing I wanted to do, remember when I tapped the second picture, what I had is I had a pop-up with some live web content showing. And I can easily create that here by just going to my second picture. I can specify actions, different actions for each of them. And what I'm going to do here is when somebody taps this, I want to actually open the pop-up. I'm going to create that. I'm going to use a classic pop-up. I can also use a full screen pop-up. And within that pop-up, this little window that we have seen, I want to show an HTML page. So I want to put in the URL, airbus.com, and it's going to be online. So then we're going to see a live web page in that pop-up. If I want, I can also say it's not online, it's offline, and then I browse to a folder that I have on my desktop here maybe, where I can load in some either static HTML content or dynamic HTML5 JavaScript content, like the 360-degree product shot that we've just seen. In this case, I want to have online. I want to use the Airbus page. I want to allow interaction so that somebody can actually navigate within that web page and maybe zooming and stuff like that to specify the width of my pop-up. And then I'm done with my slideshow. Next thing I want to do, last thing I want to do in this layout here is I want to show you how I created this slideshow with little thumbnails. It's as easy. So what I can do here is I want to create a slideshow. I'll take a slideshow with thumbnails. I want 3. I want them at the right side of my main picture. I want them to be image files. I say create slideshow. What you can see now is we create picture boxes automatically that we can use to load the thumbnails. So if I need content now for my slideshow, I'm just going to take 3 more pictures. Then when somebody tabs on this element here, we're going to show the first page or the first element of the slideshow. When somebody taps the second one, we're going to show the second picture and so on. And of course, now within that picture box, I can either load the same picture or a different one, or I'll put a logo in there. You can maybe tap to airlines or whatever. It can also be invisible, and you put that over a map that you maybe show where different airlines or whatever are based. So what you want to design here, this is really up to you. And of course, you can also move these picture boxes to another place or give it a busier shape or whatever. Because this is QuarkXPress, and what you want to do design-wise, that is up to you. The functionality is really easily applied here. And let's assume I'm finished here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to export this layout as an AVE, and then I just specify some options that I have here. So do I want to maybe AV doc? How do I want to actually show my pages? Do I want to have zooming ability so somebody can zoom in there by pinching? Do I want to include the guided reading that I just showed you? Do I want menus bar in there, navigational bar? And then I export, and then I have my content for my app. I'm going to create it, and I'm almost done publishing to the iPad. So that's enriching an existing print layout. The other thing I want to show you is, well, what if I want to do a layout that feels a bit more native to the device? So let's look at some examples, what I mean here. So let's say I want to create something like this. I don't want to have my readers to move through a lot of pages. I want to make sure that they stay on the same page for a longer time, don't need to swipe and navigate all the time, because it feels more like a native app. I have a bit more content here, so what I want to do is I actually want to have the content within the page. So what you can see here when I swipe up and down, you can see that I have content, maybe interactive content like this video here, within my layout, and I can still use a lot of text without cluttering the whole screen of my iPad. and maybe create something like this. And I can go even further on that. So if I have something like this, same concept, I have a longer article in here, and I have an outer page. Well, a designer probably would say, yeah, that's nice with the outer page, but of course the outer page should change based on the content because I don't want to have the same picture all the time. So let's have a look what happens when I scroll up this text element. You can see that the picture is changing depending on where the text is. That makes really compelling apps that look tailored to the device, to the iPad here. And if I go a bit further, David banner comes up. I can even change my picture from the left to the right side depending on where my content is. So that makes something that maybe even wows my readers and says, well, great, that's something I actually want to create. So how do I create that using QuarkXPress? So if I go back to QuarkXPress, first thing I want to show you is when you create a new document, new App Studio document that we've just seen, you can just choose it here in the project. You say OK, and you can actually choose whether you want to have a vertical or horizontal layout page in your iPad app or both. And if I do that, both, then you see that each page now consists out of two orientations. And they can be the same or they can be different depending on how you choose to author this. So let's have a look at one that I've already created, what that means. So here's my blog magazine, also a magazine that is online in the App Store, and they really used different layouts for page 1 here and page 2, depending on the orientation. QuarkXPress will make sure that these always stay in sync. So watch what happens when I'm on my vertical layout and I'm going to move my page 1 after page 2. Then this moves, but this has also moved. I'll do it again. I'll move that next page down here so you can see these things keep synchronized, which is a good way of saving you time, not having to create two different layouts and spending the same amount of time on the second orientation that you spent on the first one. This goes further. So if I drag some content in here into my vertical layout, and I want to have the same content in my horizontal, of course I can just drag it over and copy it to the other layout. But again, that would mean that I have to spend more time designing this. So what you can do here is you can just say copy to other layout, same position, and now I have copied it over. And when you now style something, so let's say I want to use this circle, and this circle will get a different border. Maybe I'll give it a blue border. You can see that both here, on the left and on the right, are actually using the same design. However, if I want to maybe change an aspect ratio, so I want to make this wider and the other one taller, I think of a title bar that, of course, is wider on the horizontal layout, then these elements don't follow each other. So the design, the geometry can be different, though the design itself, so the appearance, will stay the same. That's the same for text, so for content. If I'm going to use maybe a different font or that you see that better, I'm going to use a different color here and maybe make this a bit bigger. I can see my new Highbounds 42 is styled different in the different layouts. However, the content still stays synchronized. So if I edit some content here on the left side, you can see that it's synchronized also on the right. So these are great features to actually save you time that you don't have to double your work because you have two orientations per page.